you're having a great day. So today I want to talk about my skateboarding photography archive. I made an announcement on Instagram at OGbsmitty and on my Facebook page. It was like a 30-second video. It was just text with a song announcing that there was going to be a print series and a book with my skateboarding, featuring my skateboarding photography archive. And the reason I didn't post that on YouTube is because I used a song that would be copyrighted and I didn't want to get a copyright strike. And it was a song that was in a skate video. I don't remember who made the skate video, but it was a song that Eric Vickerone used for his part, and I kind of started the first posting was a photo I shot of Eric Vickerone on East 1st Street in downtown Cleveland, and you can actually see that on my Instagram at OGbsmitty, and you can follow along this skate photography archive project at bsmitty.com/skate. And basically what I'm doing is I have an extensive archive of skateboard photography, and I want to talk about my journey with photography more in maybe a long form video. But essentially when I started shooting photos, I shot skateboarding, and it was like the best trick. Let's go shoot a photo, try to get it like I got a photo in a Midwest magazine and ended up kind of having a working relationship with them and had dozens and dozens of photos in this publication, and ended up getting other publications. So I was photographing the local skate scene, working on getting photos out in magazines when magazines mattered. And so I have a extensive archive, a bunch of stuff that no one's ever seen of, skateboarding tricks. But in there, this is what's going to be interesting. There are some photos that are just sprinkled throughout that I wish I would have shot. I wish I would have shot a lot more of, not the actual tricks. And what's interesting, when I was shooting skateboarding, let's say I really started like taking pictures and like taking them, like I knew it was like a serious thing basically when I was like a senior in high school. Maybe it was like the summer break leading into it, and I seen slides of film from my friend Marky, and that just changed everything because I want to do that. Like it was just cool, you know what I mean? So I was shooting with a little Minolta point and shoot at first, and borrowed money from my grandma, got a Canon Elan something, 1, 2, Canon Elan 2, I don't remember. It's actually written here in my book, and I'm talking about my first camera, so we'll go over that in another video. Anyways, so that's what I knew was skateboard photography. And honestly, I feel like that's all I knew from, let's say, up to like the early to mid 2000s, especially like getting into like 2005, 2004 into 2005. I think I was really starting to shoot more photos. I was filming a lot though, actual like video camera filming. And as we reached towards like 2007, 2008, 2009, I was really just wanting to shoot photos and not film as much, because that's what I love doing and that's what I wanted to do. And what's crazy about this is I didn't even know anything about photography and outside of let's go get the best trick. In the sense, I don't know any other photographers. I didn't even know that it was really much of a thing. Never heard the term street photography. Obviously I knew there's photography in the news, but like I didn't even know really about like documentary photography. I think in my brain at the time I kind of thought of like, you'd listen to the scanner and go find newsworthy stuff, or you're hired by a newspaper to go shoot photos. It never crossed my mind of like being that myself, making myself that. And I was mainly, like I said, getting the best trick possible with whichever skateboarders I was with at that time. But like I said, there is stuff in there. I was still taking some pictures outside of the finding that skate photo that we're out looking for. So I'm really excited to dive into the archives and just see if there's some little some things that's like going to be really interesting to bring to life, and maybe even work into some projects outside of just the skateboarding archive. And but this skate archive isn't going to be just tricks. I know there's photos at spots and that type of thing of like, maybe it's just like the location, someone's standing there with their board looking at the location or whatever. I know that there's some of those that exist, and maybe they don't have their board. And it's not going to be, I'm not really married to the fact where like, all right, the skate archive project is going to be trick. I actually don't want it to be that. That's going to be a big part of it, because that's, the concept of, what I was doing at the time. But I want to bring out this whole new story, I'm hoping, of this process of unearthing this, archive. And, I really thought about, do I wait? Do I take all the time it's going to take to go through all these folders, to make the decisions, to do the editing, and bring it all out at once? And it made me think about right now, what I'm doing right now, and even my archive for the past, since I like to say 2010 is when I really became the photographer I will always be. Talk about it before, I don't know if I have on the vlog, but I have for sure on the channel. And this is going to be a whole nother video, is I watched the documentary Genius of Photography, and that's when I learned about other photographers and what photography is to me, and how I look at it. And so I feel like I truly became a photographer in 2010. Even though I started my website, bsmitty.com, which is a photography website, in 2005. But it was so skateboard only driven. I was posting tricks and tricks and tricks. So it was like, I was a skateboard photographer, and that's not to say that's not being a photographer, but I really kind of, like I said, I think I just became, I guess there's really no better way to explain it. I became who I am as a photographer in 2010. And so the past, dozen years, I have another extensive archive, but it's really what I'd like to shoot. And there's definitely, within those dozen years, there's projects within it. There's experiments. There's just tons. I know there's tons of stuff from going on the streets that just never got edited. When I think of Instagram and stuff, I don't post nearly as much. I always have this, like, that's one thing I wrote in my production book here, is to not be precious. And that's, I think there's a time and place for it. I think making collections of photographs is my next big move as an artist, and going through the archive is going to be a big deal, because I know there's multiple collections that are just, I don't even know, that are there, but they're there. You know what I mean? I know there's collections there just because of just the volume of work I've done. And I think this, kind of going back to, what this video is about, is the skate archive, is I think there is going to be a story to tell of a generation of skateboarders. And that's, I think, what is so great is, and now I'm doubling back to where I was going. If you know me, I kind of veer off of my thoughts here. Is now that this much time has passed, from the first photos of skateboarding, I mean, it's really approaching 20 years. You know what I mean? So it is an era of skateboarding in the local scene that is no more. You know what I mean? These people I photographed, a majority of them don't even live around here. And to go through this archive is going to be really interesting, and the times are going to look, they are going to look a little different. And I think there's a lot of things to learn myself as a photographer from that archive. And I mentioned it, how I became a photographer in 2010. But I'm gonna be real interested if I learn anything by going through my original archive of skateboarding. And I know before going into it, I know one thing that I wish, like I said, is I wish I photographed more outside of the tricks. And that's the big thing right now, is I need to photograph more of, I feel like when I go out to shoot, I'm looking for that trick. You know what I mean? I'm looking for that photo. What's the great photo of the day? And it's I don't know if it's really about that. You know what I mean? I think what it needs to be is photographing the process. And I'm not talking about like, you with a camera. You know what I mean? That's why I make these videos. I think this is an extension of me from skateboarding days as well. Is if I feel like a great photo is down the street, you know what I mean? I should probably take a dozen photos up to that point of getting up to that photo up the street. And who knows, something might work from that now, but 20 years from now, like I'm doing with the skate archive, 20 years from now, those photos that took along the way might mean something completely more than what it does today. And so I'm going to be making a lot more of these videos during this skate archive process and this project, and ultimately what it came down to when I was making that decision of, do I wait? Do I go through the whole archive, edit the whole archive, make these big decisions of, all right, here's the body of work. And I decided not to, even though that's where I want to kind of go forward now. That work is its own era. And I feel like what that is going to do is allow me to work now going forward. So the best way to explain it is, I'm going to bring you along with bringing out these photos. And I'm not going to post all of them right onto Instagram, and I want to save them for the final collection. Save some of them for the final collection. But what this is going to allow me to do is bring out content that's going to be really interesting, that's going to be, from a different time period, and allow me to make new work and go through my current archive of work to build new collections, so I'm not just dormant from social media, which is kind of my problem. Is I want to work on this collection, so I'm not posting anything. And so I'm going to use the work that I have done in the past to buy me time for the current work and the current archive. And I'm still going to post the current stuff and, all that, you know what I mean? I want to do that. But like I said, this allows me to kind of take my time, be patient, and start making great collections of work. And that is the next big step for me going forward, is getting out of looking just for the single photograph to post on the single thing. Because my favorite thing to always say with Instagram and social media, but we'll go with Instagram because that's kind of the most popular single image platform, is think about Instagram. Say if whatever time it is right now, think 6 hours ago, name me a couple photos that you've seen on Instagram. What about yesterday? What about last week? What about last month? These images on Instagram fly through your brain and you don't remember them anymore. But there's something special about a collection that makes you remember certain things. It makes you remember, even the whole project together makes you remember that project. And then it kind of turns on that switch of like, yeah, I remember that skate archive he released. Oh yeah, I do like that photo of Eric Vickerown that he posted on East First. That was pretty sick. And you know what? The other photo of Eric Vickerown was really cool, of him doing like a nose grind. And then that spot was so cool because Tim Worthen did a trick on that same ledge. It starts building a story within itself, and that's kind of what I hope the skate archive will do. I'm real excited for this archive and bringing things out from that era and putting in the new work going forward and building collections to release, and that's kind of where I'm at going forward. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to start doing is working on these collections and focusing on that. And the fair series, that was released in August, and that's a funny thing. I want to talk about that another time, but I will mention. I'll kind of give you a little teaser on the upcoming video I want to talk about. Is my first fair book, The Fair Return, was actually called A Fair Variant, A Fair Return was supposed to be called A Fair Variant. And at the time, if you wrote the word variant on social media, Instagram, Facebook, your post was flagged, and on Facebook it was completely, you had to click this thing to even see it, and basically you were kind of the content was shadow banned immediately. The viewer had to prove to look at it because of the word variant, and I knew that at the time because it popped up. There was discussions on, all right, do I just change the title of the book, which I did, to A Fair Return, so I can actually post the content. These platforms now allow that, and this was soon after that, but because it was like a freedom of speech situation, to where it's you could talk about these things. It wasn't like, which to me was just that. It was a little not at the moment of time of what the times that I was in and the world was in. And so now I already have my next book title. So August of 2022, my next fair book, I was going to make a second second edition of the first one and call it Fair Variant and kind of talk about that. But I feel like that's going to just cause confusion. So my second fair book is going to be called A Fair Variant, and I'm excited for that. I wish I would have just stuck with it, but that's where I let social media make a decision for me. I don't like that. I'd let that even happen. I could have just said, even when I post on social media, check out my new book. I wasn't really. I don't know. I think it just happened. I got to change it, and I was like, what can I name? What can I have a name? But at the same time, it does work perfect because there was no fairs the previous year, so it does make sense. A fair return. It was a return to the fair. So the next one being A Fair Variant, it did work out. So it's interesting how things just happen. You know what I mean? And at least I got the next book title down. I'm ready to go. But yeah, this focused way of working, in the sense of thinking outside of the trick, is something I'm really excited for. And this is where your own work can teach you things. And that's something that maybe if you're doing some type of work, is to think about that. You know what I mean? Like if you did work 10 years ago, think about that work and what it could teach you going forward. And you don't always have to, get inspiration off of another person. You can get inspiration off of your past work, and what you would have done then, do that now. Or maybe what you did then didn't make sense at that time, but now it does. And yeah, anyways, I could talk about that all day. So yeah, I wanted to make a little bit of a video here about just this process of the skate archive. And if you want to follow along, again, it's bsmitty.com/skate, and follow on Instagram at OGbsmitty. And there's going to be even exclusive content, and I'm going to talk about certain releases and all that on Patreon. So definitely, if you want to support me even further, go to patreon.com/bsmitty. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.